Bonsoir, mesdames and messieurs, and welcome to Fantasia Film Festival Virtual Edition 2020, the world premiere of Anything for Jackson. You guys, you have with us, we have the filmmakers, we have the stars, we have everyone but Satan himself, although I'm standing in hell. My name is Matthew Kiernan. I work with the programming team. Quick shout out to our friends at CJLO for providing the music during our little break in between. Thank you all for coming. Guys, congratulations. That is literally a hell of a movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Justin, you've got several people with you. So, and since you guys are all properly masked up, thank you for that. Let us know who you've got sitting with you there.
Yeah, well, I've got Keith, the screenwriter, and my fellow producer here. And then we have Josh Cruddas, starring as Ian, and then, of course, Konstantina Mantelos.
And we have with us, of course, Sheila McCarthy and Julian Richings, the star of Anything for Jackson. We have with us Lanette Ware Bushfield and Rebecca Lamarche. Thank you all for coming. Now, for the actors, we were all together before this. This is your first time seeing the movie. And this is something that you guys, put together pretty quickly. It's really impressive by just, how a small little movie like this is still so funny and so clever and so dark and twisted. It must have been, was it as fun? This is one of the few cases where I asked the standard question, was it as fun to make as it was to watch?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
More fun.
Absolutely.
Although Konstantin, maybe not as much fun for you because you were chained up to a bed the whole time.
Yeah.
You poor girl.
But it was still a grand time.
Now, Justin, let's start with you guys because as I did the liner notes for the movie and I made a brief mention of this, but I really think the key to this is you guys have made a lot of these Hallmark Christmas movies together, both together and separately. And I have to think this movie must have been just an answer of like, let's make something the total complete opposite of that.
There's certainly some of that. Yeah, this project's been simmering for quite some time, and it was, as you say, we do a lot of fun romantic holiday movies, and yeah, they all sort of came to fruition, and we were able to let it all out on this movie.
And you guys shot this earlier this year. It looks, in a lot of ways, it looks like almost one of these Christmas movies. Beautiful snowy setting and all that. But
Hallmark horror.
Indeed, yeah.
No expense spared with the locations either. They were the locations of very rich filmmakers.
But you guys shot this you guys got this done pretty much just under the wire before the shutdown happened, right?
We did. We wrapped on March 13th, and I think every set, at least in Ontario, shut down on the Monday following.
Yes.
So
and was it difficult for you guys to thankfully it's done, and we had it here, and it's going to be airing in October. But was it difficult for you guys to do post in this environment?
It was very difficult to do post. Yeah, we had to create a whole new post workflow. We were, I was watching rushes on just a little home computer. We had our editor very brilliantly started a Twitch account, which, typically for gamers. So he was broadcasting his screen out, and myself and Keith would sit in on every session from home and just watching what he did, and try to work our way through it that way. So it certainly took longer than expected. But luckily, we were allowed to be in the same room as some of the artists by the time we got to the online and the color grade and the sound mix, and we're able to get back in there and do it properly.
And I have to go back to the beginning on starting with, this film is just so, I'm not just saying this because you guys are all there, but this is really so well cast. And when I heard it was Sheila McCarthy and Julian Richings together, first off, I was just like, well, I want to see that just on its own. Like I'd see these two, do like the phone book, as they say. But, let's talk about casting these people. Some of them I'm sure you've worked with before.
Yeah, so it started with Sheila actually. We saw her in a movie called Cardinal that a friend of mine recommended, and she just blew me away. I was so impressed. Made Keith watch it, I think, the next day, and we talked about it. We agreed that she would be a perfect Audrey. Through a friend of a friend of a friend. Again, this is a link through the Christmas movies. We had a friend reach out to her, send her the script, and she read it like within a couple of days, which nobody does, and came back and said she'd be willing to do it. So yeah, it sort of trickled from there. We when we got the financing, we were hoping for Julian from day one because we knew we were going to have to find local Toronto actors, and you can't get better than Julian. And so we had got everybody attached. That got the financing, and then yeah, we worked together with Vortex and A71, and I was able to bring in my very good friend Rebecca to help find the rest of this cast, and she worked tirelessly along with Bill Marks to find all these wonderful people.
And for you, Sheila and Julian, is this the first time you worked together?
It is the first. We were in a web series called Whatever Linda.
Yeah.
Together. I don't think we had any scenes.
That's right. We've never shared screen time together.
No,
We've been on the same thing.
Right. But this was the first time we'd worked together, and yeah, it was wonderful.
It's when they came to you and they said, "We want you to play a married couple who happen to be Satanists."
Mm-hmm.
Was there any? I mean,
you know what? We're Satanist light. We don't really, we don't really have a clue what we're doing, and we're not very good at it, which is,
but you're committed to it.
Well,
you're committed to it because without it, you won't get Jackson.
I know. And, I always thought of this as just really a story about grief and love and loss, really.
Very much, yeah.
The horror thing was kind of secondary,
Yeah.
I think, for us as we worked, right, Julian?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The joy was actually the fact that we were a couple on a journey, and it was a journey that we weren't very good at navigating, and we kept making mistakes. And that was the fun for us as actors, I think, was to discover it as we went along, and to be open with each other as a couple, rather than sort of have a predestined idea of what our characters would do. We sort of discovered it as we went along. We
don't love what we're doing. We're not relishing in it.
It's a ways to a means.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but what's interesting too is you guys really are like the nicest Satanists, like in any movie I've ever seen. And we've played more than a few of them here at Fantasia.
I think Sheila's pretty fierce. I wouldn't cross her.
Steel Magnolia. Well.
But for you, Konstantin, to be working with these two, and to really, I mean, it's pretty much, you're just working with Sheila and Julian. I mean, that must have been pretty exciting, I would think.
Oh, it was an incredible treat. This is my first feature film project, and when I discovered that I was going to be working so closely with Sheila and Julian, I was so excited and I was so nervous, and they were so wonderful and such generous actors to work with. I immediately felt at home. I immediately felt comfortable. And at the end of the day, it was about the work. And at the end of the day, it was about, the dynamic between Shannon and these two folks who, are doing something not so great, but have the best of intentions.
Absolutely,
behind it,
It's like they're not bad people, but they have to do bad things in order to get what they want. Yeah. And
I kept saying, please untie her so that she can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
This poor girl.
But we have to acknowledge the grace and the power that she brought to it, because otherwise, she never played a victim, a passive victim. There was always a sense of movement, and we always had a dynamic and scenes that we played, and we went on the journey together, and that was a big thrill. It was, and I think that with all of us, none of us played to a type.
No, very much. And that is also, getting back to your character, is it's one of the fascinating things about it is her character's journey is very much, starting off as this reluctant, doesn't want to have a kid, and kind of a party girl, and then by the end of it, really sort of becomes this, mother, like a responsible mother looking after her child who hasn't even been born yet. And there was a great, it's a great arc for you to watch, and it really helps to make the movie. And again, you have these two characters. You have Sheila and Julian's characters who, they're nice people, but they've got to do something terrible. And as it goes on, it's like, well, please don't hurt her. She's so nice. You want this baby to be born and not fall into their hands.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something that audiences and all of us are sort of torn between, is that Sheila and Julian make these characters so empathetic, and yet you also want Becker to succeed. And so you're sitting there going, well, only one of them can win, only one of them can get away from this okay. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm happy that it was Becker.
I think the audience are too. My family breathed a sigh of relief. They cheered when you got out. Now.
I cheered when I got out.
Yes.
So by the way, we're allowing to take questions through the Q&A, and we have a few already. I have a question. It's from Malbeth, just saying, what exactly happened to the ginger? I assume he's dead. I should mention you're here, so.
Get in here, Josh.
Oh, hi. What exactly happened to me? A horrible, horrible thing, but fitting to his horribleness. In the script, he gets brutally taken advantage of by the giggling ghost. He has a bit of the giggling ghost just, I don't know what he does to him, but it's not good. And so again, unfortunately, he's not the best kind of guy, and I think it was an end fitting to his misdeeds.
That's the interesting thing about your character. Yours is really kind of the one malevolent character throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. I was just thanking Justin for holding. He was holding the screen, the camera.
He's still directing you.
Oh,
So yours is the one character who's downright evil. Yours is the one character who's downright malevolent.
Yeah, he's just he doesn't really have a lot to go off. He's pretty. He kind of knows what he wants, and unfortunately, what he wants is not what he should want or what anyone should want. And he gets in too deep, and he doesn't know when to stop. And he obviously has some issues that he probably should have talked to someone about many years before this movie happened. But it's a good advertisement for getting therapy, I think.
And let me ask Justin and Keith. Was there like serious research into Satanism, or was it all just, well, let's just fly with it?
No, funny enough, I did, I'm not a religious person at all, as you can probably tell. But I did want to be respectful. I didn't want to be completely disrespectful to anybody or their beliefs. So I did as much research as I could find. So the little town one that they have at the library, that is the actual speech that they give at the beginning of these things.
Wow.
A lot of the text, obviously there's so many different versions of it, so it's pretty hard to pick a lane exactly that works. But I tried to do as much research as I could for it without.
We tried to lean into that a little bit, and Ian has the one line where the book has so many different years, different religions. So it's about whatever these demons are. They've kind of existed in humanity forever, and every civilization that came across them would give them their own name and their own lore. So we don't really know which one's correct. Maybe this is from Greek gods, this is from Christianity, this is from any walk of life. If they've ever encountered this, they created a legend around it. So this is just our intent.
It's just always interpretation, right?
This is the reality of what those stories are about, I guess.
Yeah.
And for Sheila and Julian, rather, was there any satanic research on your end, or did you just go with what was in script?
No, I not at all, because I just thought we are strangers in a strange land here, dabbling in things that we know nothing. Even my Latin was I said very early on, I don't think that I speak very good Latin. So if I could just be reading it, that would be great. Josh, you did a wonderful job learning the Latin. But no, we were babes in, in the woods, and yeah, I don't.
I'm going to take another question here from the audience. This is Seb. Since redheads are associated with the supernatural, was Ian being a redhead planned from the start?
Wow.
What was the question? Was Ian being a redhead? What?
Planned from the start. Since
yeah,
that's how we got the part.
Our audience has asked the best questions, by the way.
That's
they really
great.
do.
Oh man, I love it.
Actually, I will give you a quick story about Josh. He auditioned for different roles, and we got 2 audition tapes from him back to back for 2 completely different roles, neither of which were similar at all to Ian, and both of them were just so incredible. We said, this guy is a chameleon. We got to see what he can do with Ian, and I think it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out very well.
He auditioned for my part, didn't you?
That would have been a different movie, I think. I have a question from Adam D for Konstantin. What was the most rewarding scene to finish during filming, and why?
What was the most rewarding scene to finish?
Yes, during filming, and why?
I would have to say the scene where I get out of the cuffs was definitely a grand day. We spent about a week with me shackled into the bed, and the day that we shot that kind of big scene where all the chaos is happening, I got out of the cuffs and I dove out of bed and I never looked back. It was fabulous.
I've got a question for Lanette, and I think this may top the previous question that we had before. How was it shooting yourself repeatedly in the head? It looked exhausting.
That's a great question. And how often in life do you get to do that? So, I mean, come on. I relished it. It was great. It's exactly why we do what we do, right? We get to experience these ridiculous circumstances that would never happen in real life. We get to say the best lines. And so that was another one of those moments. Thank you, Keith, for writing just this brilliant script that had such heart. And, it was nice to kind of play on this idea, right? That there are ghosts all around us and nobody really ever dies. I kind of don't look at it as a negative. It's kind of like, yeah, well, I wasn't done. I have more to say. I have more to experience. So yeah, it was great. Thanks for the question. It was great.
We're getting a lot of questions. This is really great. Another question comment for Lanette. How was it to shift from the character of the detective to a totally different character on the dark side? She thought it was such a great moment. This is Steve.
It was really a blast, honestly, with Justin's direction. I will say I had no clue as to what that dark side should be or would be. So without Justin and Keith being there for that flip of character, I could do what any actor does and reach for what might work, but it's because they put me on the track, the proper track, that I feel that question would even be possible, because they knew specifically what they needed her to be. So it was great for me to just jump the 180 for sure, because that's always fun, yet again, to kind of go outside of yourself and play. So yeah, that was a blast, just to be someone completely out of body.
So I'm getting a lot of questions about the ending. And I will go with Mailbeth, who's saying, at the end, it seems the demon is still linked with the unborn child. Chance of a sequel?
What do you think, Keith?
Sorry, what was the question? I missed that.
It seems the demon is still linked with the unborn child. Is there a sequel?
Chance of a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, I think we wanted to leave it open to interpretation for sure. It's way more exciting to you know, you want people to wonder what's going to happen rather than know what's going to happen. I think was, you know, a really interesting way for us to go with this at the end. I think Justin and I went back and forth at least 10, 15 times. I don't even know that we're even on the same page about what happens at the end. But that's
I know
fine
what
too.
happens, but yeah.
And a question from Melissa. The scene where the gentleman puts his head in the snowblower. Is that an Omen homage?
Oh wow, that's so good.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Probably a little, yeah. I'd certainly say it's one of my favorite horror movies. So there's no way it hasn't crept in there and laid some eggs.
Yeah, but go to The Shining, and everywhere people aren't themselves when there's ghosts and demons around. I think is what we're paying homage to. So The Omen is certainly one of those.
And I mean, the snowblower, was that something you have just been wanting to do for a long time? Is that like a gag? You're like, I've just wanted to throw somebody in a snowblower in a movie, and finally I got my chance.
I think it probably came up at the first version of this script, and we had a lot of different versions of it for various seasons because we weren't sure we were going to be able to shoot this in the winter. But we got lucky and we managed to shoot it at the exact right time, and we had a blizzard at the exact right time. Much to our production manager's chagrin, we had a lot of snow to deal with, but it was great for the movie.
And it was also great. Justin and I had spent probably at least 4 or 5 days figuring out what kind of chunky snow, blood slush that we could throw into a snowblower to make it work. It was really important to both of us to make all the effects very practical. Obviously, we had Carly on hand, so that made it an easy choice. But we were throwing red slush, we tried Jello, we tried oatmeal. I don't even remember everything that we tried throwing in there. We broke at least 2 snowblowers.
So word of advice, warm oatmeal is not good in a snowblower. It's hard to get out. Yeah, it needs to be cold. It needs to be cold.
The side of my garage is still slightly stained. I can't fix it.
I would think like maybe just something like, like a snow cone, like a regular, like just, the kind of same, red sauce you use, like cherry sauce. No, that wouldn't work.
Kind of where we ended up.
You would have been great taking that advice a week before the movie.
Well, again, if you guys are gonna make a sequel, And let's talk a bit about this house, because you guys, you picked a really nice, otherwise seemingly normal suburban house. But it was a really, really smart choice. Let's talk about finding this location.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. It's I woke up and I was like, yeah, we could probably just do it here. So I wrote the movie to the house. I knew that Justin and I knew we didn't have a ton of time for prep. So really wanted to know all of our locations. So that was a big advantage as well. Justin could come over way beforehand and we could go through shots. Same thing, Sasha came out at least once or twice to kind of map things out. So yeah, it was that was a no-brainer.
And you evicted your poor family so we could shoot in the house for 3 weeks.
They were great. They were excellent.
Right.
Is there still, like, say, blood all over your house that you can't, blood stains you can't get out?
Yeah, there's blood. There's gaffer tape that's way up on the ceilings that I can't get down. I've tried. It's high up there, so yeah, it's there for a while.
Did you have to?
Was there when I was having blood tossed on me in the shower?
Yeah, yes, yeah. They're used to it. They're big fans, so they don't mind. They're used.
And I mean, did you have to explain a lot to your neighbors? Like, it's not just, we're not just making a movie. Yeah, we're gonna splay blood all over the outside. Just don't worry about it.
I did go with some nice wine offerings ahead of time, just to warn them that it was going to happen. So they're all great. I've got great neighbors. I'm very lucky.
Wow.
Very lucky indeed. And inside that house, of course, the bedroom. Let's talk a bit about just coming up with a satanic ritual. Again, it's it's all kind of whatever you guys feel the need to come up with for the movie, but I would think writing your own satanic ritual there's kind of some fun and freedom to go with that.
Oh, it's certainly tons of fun. Yeah,
definitely.
As you say, the words you actually took from a lot of Latin texts and
yeah, I tried to find as much as I could, and then just sort of piecemeal it together, and just think of things that I would think they would say back then. And and then of course we had a great art department that helped out afterwards, that kind of had their own interpretation, and the symbols and everything were great.
Yeah, so because of the ritual, we had to make sure that scene was shot in a studio, because it would really destroy anyone's house. So we actually managed to get our hands on the old movie theater where I grew up loving movies. They're kind of on the way to shutting down. So we moved into Cinema 3. We pulled out some of the chairs, and we built Jackson's bedroom in an old movie theater. Wow. So it was a fantastic studio, and yeah, so we were able to move walls in and out, lay down our own flooring, and so we just we adjusted to the space. Like, what can we do in this room to get across that there's a satanic ritual going on? So thanks to the art department for that, for sure. It was
I always find too, when you add toys and elements and stuffed animals and children, it adds an element of horror that always works. Like, it's just so much like that was creepy,
And kudos to our cinematographer. It looked great. It's such a pleasure for us as actors. We're being lit all the time. So the first time that you actually see the movie, you realize what a world has been created for our benefit. And I felt that the cinematography was incredible and really added to all those rituals and the claustrophobia of the homes.
Right. Absolutely. I have to say, I'm so glad you said that, Julian, because that opening shot alone, which I didn't get to witness, because I wasn't there on set that day. I mean, that immediately drew me in. It's like I couldn't believe that opening shot, and not seeing the two of your faces and not knowing who you were, even though I did. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, who are these people? It was so phenomenal. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And it lasted a while, right? As horror should do. It pulls you in and it holds you there. It was gripping. It was phenomenal. You're so right about that. Yeah, that was a great choice. The lighting all throughout was brilliant.
I've got a question from Sarah. Were there any demons? This is for the Justin, but you can answer this too. Were there any demons that you wanted to add to the movie that didn't make the cut? The floss girl was horrifying.
My daughter thought it was me, and she said, "Is that you?" Poor woman.
No, I don't think any demons landed on the cutting room floor. No. The timeline and budget was a little tight to overshoot. So I think everyone that got written was in there, and I don't know if Keith wants to divulge. I think he had a brilliant base for where each of these ghosts came from. So I don't know if you want to talk about that or if that's a secret. But
I'm definitely put on the spot and have to now. So I just thought it would be really important. I wanted to do I want to be able to get everybody's kind of phobias and try to figure it out. So I went to dreams. A lot of people have horrible dreams about teeth with different meanings, things about suffocating, claustrophobia, things about getting bigger. That was a lot of my nightmares, is just things that should be small are massive on really big scales. So it was just, I really wanted to play with that idea. So as far as our ghosts go, and then the demons themselves, I think were just, again, that was a great combination. Carly Morse, obviously, she sent us a couple just sketches, and it was we really didn't even have need much
Tina
info.
as well.
And Tina as well, yeah.
Built them. Tina was here tonight for the screening. I think her costume scared her the most. Yeah. So that was good.
I've had a number of people asking. I've touched upon this earlier. Reese asking, how did it feel to get away from the Christmas movies and dip into the horror world? Was it difficult? I don't think so. But was it difficult to break away from the holiday happiness and go into darkness?
No, not at all. No, it was very, very easy. It was, this has been calling us for a long time to do a movie, like this. Keith and I have been working for a long time trying to get it done. And we just we stumbled our way into Christmas, romance, kids and family. And I absolutely love it. It's, how lucky am I that I get to direct movies all the time? But I feel like this is the first time it's really been sort of us telling our story.
And those, the one thing about those movies is, they're made fairly quickly, and so you learn to work fast. You learn to work and get it done, in time, but also get it done and looking right and everything. And that's one of the things about this movie is it moves very quickly, and it doesn't feel like a TV movie. That's the other thing I saw afterwards. I was like, wow, it didn't, I saw your credits and I was like, didn't feel like television, which is perfect, which is great.
Yeah, that's certainly the goal, is to make it more cinematic and not look the same. We tried to, we have obviously our rules for Christmas movies. We tried to break them all on this. And then the other advantage of Christmas movies, of course, is like that's where I met Lanette. That's where I met Rebecca. Caitlin, Scott, and Claire, who are the two of the doctor's office. So many people with resumes, far outside our budget for the few days they were out, came out and helped us out and just added so much to this project. So I love those Christmas movies, and I love the team I get to work with all the time. And I was glad we were able to bring that into this world and then just twist it completely.
It's funny too. Sorry, just to add to that, with Justin, obviously he's on set for those movies. The Christmas ones, I'm usually not on set for those anymore. But I remember when he sent me Lanette's stuff, and I just looked at her IMDb, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I should see if she wants to come in and play Fellows." And as soon as I was like, "No, she's gonna say no." I was like, "This is," but because they've got this great relationship, it worked out so well for us. Same thing with Caitlin, as Justin said, Scott and Claire, and even Rebecca, just doing as much as she did. The only casting director that I think also plays a demon in a movie, that might be a new one.
Guinness Book of World Records. Yes. Yes. And oh my gosh, Matt, can you not tell why we would do anything for these two? Look at them. Just look at them. They're perfect. Yes. Can't you see? You don't have to ask twice when it's these guys. Of course, you would do it yesterday in your sleep. We love them. They're amazing. They were amazing the whole time. Thank you guys for having us.
Could I give a shout out to also the composer, John McCarthy.
Oh my goodness.
Be my brother. But I just thought the score was like, thank you for casting him. But I think, it was really another character in the movie. It was beautiful work.
And surprising. Really surprising at times too.
It was quiet when it needed to be, and not over. Like, it was just. I thought it was great.
Yeah. He went so above and beyond with this score. I cannot believe how lucky we got. First of all, that you introduced us to him, but then that he would come on and do it, and just.
It was another one of those, exactly like I just said with Lanette. He came to us and was like, "Hey guys, Sheila showed me this movie. I think it'd be a lot of fun." And we we're like, we don't have any money, right? Like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, his credits are endless and incredible.
You paid my brother?
He gets to stay at my house now. He has the garage is all him.
I've got a question from Matt, and I've been waiting for somebody to ask this. I was going to bring it up. If they didn't, I would. Was the suffering ghost a contortionist? Oh. And if so, how did you choreograph his movements? And also, let's just talk about finding this contortionist, who is pretty amazing.
So his name is Troy James. Weird story with Troy. I went to Canada's Wonderland when I was like 20 for Halloween Haunt. And I see this contortionist doing this thing, chasing people around upside down. And I make all my friends stop. I was like, we got to watch this guy. He's about to do something again. And we just stood there and waited. And I just watched him chase people around at Canada's Wonderland forever. And then here we are. I'm very old. I don't know, like 20 years later. And we're talking about this. We're like, suffocating ghost. Oh, it'd be great. This guy I saw at Canada's Wonderland when I was a kid.
Wow.
And so we start digging. We start looking him up. Rebecca gets involved. She's like, yeah, I found him. This is his name. This is what he does. We pull him up on IMDb, and he's in all Guillermo del Toro's movies. He's in the new Hellboy. And we're like, oh, great. We can't get him either. He was on James Corden like 3 weeks before we started looking for him. And then, Rebecca, I'll let you take the story from here, how we actually ended up getting Troy.
Yeah, well, Troy has a really amazing local agent that we work with very often. His name is Frank DaCosta. and part of consulting on this movie involved a lot of the casting side. So I was chatting with Frank about our movie, and we were chatting about Troy, and he said there's a very small window when he will be in the country, and he gave us the dates. And Justin and Keith said we can make it work. We will make it work if it means that we can work with Troy, and we're very lucky to have him.
No.
Right.
And as far as the choreography goes, there's just, you don't really have to. You just say.
Yeah, it was really weird asking him, like, okay, so let's say you're upside down, your hand is here. How would you get to a standing position? He's like, oh, here, I'll show you. And he does like 3 different variations. Like, all right, I'll take number 2. Yeah, he did. He brought so much to it. He showed up with his own contact lenses. He was just such a delight to work with.
And the nicest guy in the whole
The
world.
nicest guy. Nicest guy.
Yeah.
I've got several more questions here. Konstantina, question for you. You mentioned before this is your first feature, although you have done a lot of television. But how did you prepare so effectively for a role that was emotionally raw and real? That is from Susan, by the way.
Well, it was sort of a process. I mean, over time, all of the sort of physical things that I had going on set really helped to kind of bring me into the world of what was going on. It was my very first day of shooting when we shot the kidnapping scene. And so that was immediately like, I don't even have to think too hard about the fact that here's this couple dragging me into the house, and I'm 8 months pregnant, and our wonderful costume person Tina had a weighted belly for me, so I didn't even have to think too hard about what it would be like to kind of be carrying this baby along with me, and you know, working with Sheila and Julian and all the other wonderful actors, and just in an amazing direction. I was able to really fall into place the moment I was on set. Obviously, I did a lot of research and warming up and rehearsing and whatnot, but I was able to really fall into place while I was conversing with Sheila and Julian, because they're such generous actors.
And from Steve, a question for both Justin and Keith. Motherhood is such a focal point in the film. What kind of consultation research did you do to prepare for the portrayal of an expected mother in these circumstances?
Well, for me, I've got young kids. They're 5 and 7 now. So yeah, I lived it with my wife for a little while, and
just
as well.
Learned experience. You know, 3 kids. You've gone through it, and you know, you understand what it takes for a woman to have to go through that and carry it through, and you know, so it's a lot of that really came through for Henry. You know, is probably where he started with his supportive nature, and you know, everything along those lines. So I think, yeah, I think it is the kind of thing that you don't research. You just that's part of your life. So you just bring it in and you put it into what you're doing.
I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like, but I've watched it, and I know, like, you know, something as simple as Konstantina, like knowing where to keep her hands or something. And I remember Sheila and I started talking, like, all right, Sheila, where did you do it? I remember my wife would do this, or you know, she would do this to get up out of a chair or whatever. And Sheila had lots of great advice on that. And so we went to whatever moms were on set, and yeah, and in terms of the story, I think it's just a matter of, as Casey said, living it with our own families. So
if I could do it again, I would probably have Henry or somebody bring her more mint chocolate chip ice cream. Would be the only thing that I'd probably love.
Yeah, a lot more accurate.
Well, I have time for one more question, and we have to wrap this up. Let's talk about the release. Although this is not getting a theatrical release, this is going to be on Super Channel, correct?
It is a Fuse Super Channel original.
Super Channel Fuse original. It's going to be out in time for Halloween. I don't know the first day it's airing, but I know it's airing through October. And that's the Canadian release. So we're really excited about that. And in terms of the rest of the world, I've been told to stay tuned. I think if you follow Vortex or A71 on social media, they'll be letting us all know, and I'm as excited to find out as everyone else.
Nobody tells me anything because I will just blab it, and I have to sit and wait.
We want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. We so appreciate you guys coming, and we really appreciate you guys giving us this opportunity to host the world premiere for Anything for Jackson here at Fantasia Virtual 2020. And I can tell, I mean, I've gotten more questions for this screening from the audience than I have on any of the other screenings that I've hosted. So I can tell that this is a movie that people already want to start talking about. So at this point in time, we encourage everybody who watched the movie, if you liked it, and I guess you did, please take this opportunity, talk about it, post about it on social media, follow the film, follow the filmmakers on socials, get the word out, because this is the world premiere. And even though it is going to be airing in October, and I'm sure there'll be some promotional for that, but get that word out and get more people involved, because we at Fantasia, we're very supportive, obviously, of Canadian genre films. And when they turn out as well as this one, we really, really want to toot the horn. So once again, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
There's one more night of Fantasia screenings. We hope you are able to join us. And if we don't see you, hopefully we will see you next year, Fantasia 2021, hopefully in person. Thank you all so much for coming. Everybody, Justin, Rebecca, everybody.
Happy birthday, Julian.
Bon cinema.